Welcome into the Pigskin preview presented by Prize Picks. Nick Roush and Adam Luckett, your favorite KSR heads, here to talk about some football. Week 6 of college football season is here. Oh, and I forgot to turn off the
He's muted all over the place. Like our guy is just a mute king over
I didn't unmute. I didn't
need to mute your picks is what we need to do. Just put it all on mute.
They're bad. They're bad right now. But hey, we had the Cats money line last week. All right, we got that home, so that gets us back in the red. Or in the green, right? It only takes one big one to get you back on board. So we'll get back on board this week. Like we don't have the Kentucky game to worry about. We've got other games to stay focused on, so we can rip some picks, rip some winners.
That's right. Back to the window, trying to cash some more tickets, and I know you'll probably be double dipping with some horse racing this weekend as well. So fun. Brocktober equals Funtober. That's for sure.
There's no doubt about it. Our friend Stephen Peak's on vacation, so I took it upon myself to figure out how to do this episode, and I typed in the wrong week for which picks are in there. So we're off to a hot start. We aren't muting ourselves, but hey, I got a Prize Picks shirt on. Shout out Prize Picks. We're cashing in big on Prize Picks. You can play the NFL, you can play college, you can play MLB playoffs. All you got to do is just pick a few squares, go more or less, string them together, and win big. I've been playing Prize Picks, especially on these Thursday night, Monday night football games. Should have a fun Thursday night NFL game tonight with the Falcons and it's a
Bucks.
division game. Bucks. There we go. It wasn't the Saints. Falcons Saints was last week. That game was a little bonkers. But you can get on the action too and just download the Prize Picks app or visit them at prizepicks.com. And when you put in promo code KSR, you're going to, if you play $5, you're going to get $50 in your account. Terms will apply, but that's prizepicks.com or download the Prize Picks app. Download it. Use promo code KSR. Play $5. You'll get $50 in your account. Easy peasy. Play big it really is the best time of the year to have Prize Picks and the best time to be just playing. All of the games. We've got football every day until Thanksgiving weekend. The basketball crossover hasn't started, but October's baseball. Like Luckett said, we've got a little bit of Keeneland action opening up this weekend too. 8 winning you're in races. So there's a lot at play, Luckett. There's a lot at play right now.
Yeah, and on the Prize Picks, I believe Miller Moss is over his cashed every week. If not, it's been close. So that's something to keep an eye on.
We'll be monitoring.
He went over Michigan by a couple yards. And he was at like 250. That he didn't cash Utah State. I take that back. But every other game, he threw for 378 against LSU, 308 last week against Wisconsin. So he's definitely one I think to monitor. And that'll be a game we talk about here in a minute.
Oh, a little teaser, a little tease you please you. Typically we do the pick. We kind of preview the week and do the picks last. The one game I know we aren't picking that we should address though is just the team Kentucky beat versus the team that Kentucky didn't beat. We briefly mentioned 11 personnel, but I'm fascinated by this Ole Miss South Carolina matchup, especially knowing how well Shane Beamer is in these spots and how good that defensive line is. We saw what Kentucky's defensive line was able to do to Jackson Dart and co last week, and South Carolina is equally as disruptive. So do you got any lean one way or another in that game, Luckett?
Yeah, I know like the like just everyone just thinks Beamer is just awesome in these games, but he's like 5-4 ATS as a home dog. Like it's not something where it's just a slam dunk with him.
It's that he has 3 outright wins and when he's in a spot as a dog against a ranked team. And one was the win at Clemson that first year.
Yeah.
So
yeah. To me, it's just who is South Carolina and who is Ole Miss. Like it's a big kind of barometer. Like just who are these teams, right? Like where they fall. South Carolina, Sellers didn't play last week. He's coming back from that ankle injury against LSU. And then like this Ole Miss offense, what is it? Does it get stuffed in a locker again, right? Or can they figure some stuff out? I, I think the problems Kentucky gave them. I'm interested to like I don't know if South Carolina can necessarily give them those problems because they don't have a Deion Walker, and their linebackers, in my opinion, aren't as good in the box as Derrick Jackson and Dumas Johnson. So if they're able to run the football and get in the tempo, they're going to have a lot more offensive success. And then defensively, I'm interested to see how Ole Miss looks, how they do against South Carolina, because if they shut them down, then I think you would feel pretty good about what Kentucky's offense did. If they don't, then you're kind of like, well, they still got a long way to go on offense a little bit. So from the Kentucky lens, I think it's a fascinating game. And then for Ole Miss, it's almost like a must win after last week's loss. And then for South Carolina, it's another opportunity to get a big win at home. You missed the LSU chance. Now you got another chance with Ole Miss. And if you can get it, then you've got a chance to really make a run at 8-4 type season and really make some noise in November. And so it's a very interesting game there in Columbia this weekend. Definitely that game's gonna have most of my full attention, full potential or full attention. I'll get it there someday, but as much as I can give it because I think I just think it's a fascinating game.
I'm also pretty fascinated by Texas A&M, Missouri, where Missouri had all of this preseason buzz, and they haven't really done anything that would back up the fact that they're a top 10 team. Like they're one of the more boring top 10 teams I can remember, and they just haven't gone out and really done anything that wowed you. You know, they had to hold on, needed a Vandy miss kick in double overtime to walk away with that one. They just haven't been overly impressive thus far, and now they've got to go on the road against a physical Texas A&M team that's kind of done whatever they wanted. Now they A&M, I love this trend like it. They're 3-11 at Kyle Field when they were ranked hosting a top 10 team. That's since 2000. So they have
Yeah.
not in these big moments. Kyle Field fans have left disappointed. But when I saw that number at A&M -2.5, I was like, yeah, sounds about right. I'm not willing to go to the window and bet it, but that feels like the right number for this game.
Yeah, my only worry in this game for A&M is the offense good enough? Florida game was good. Arkansas was just okay. They got outgained. It was and they only scored 21 points in that game.
Mm-hmm.
They only scored 26 against Bowling Green. So like, how good is this offense? Because they're going to have to score more than 21, I think, to win this game, Nick. And so I think it's great. Honestly, I love how the game sets up for Missouri. A&M just had a physical game against a rival last week. You had a week off after, your worst, like honestly, a bad performance. And I think they're right to have a bounce back kind of game here. I necessarily don't think Missouri's the top 10 team, but I really like this spot for them. I think we'll probably see them bounce back and play well. Missouri's getting points here, kind of like that money line.
Interesting. Interesting. I wanted to mention two more things, Lucky, before we move on games that I won't be betting, but they're big numbers, but I'm tempted by. Florida State has been a home dog of greater than 14 points twice, and they've lost those two games by a combined score of 104-25. One was to Clemson in 18, and one was to Florida in 08. So, yeah, the Clemson looks like they're the team. I mean, like, I don't think 14.5 is necessarily a ton for that game. Mike Norvell also is 3-5 without Jordan Travis, 1-4 this year. So Norvell hadn't been good without that guy in the seat. The other one is Hugh Freeze's stats. Normally a good underdog, hasn't been good at Auburn. I know you had some of those on KSR Plus. There was another stat I saw. This Auburn Georgia quote unquote rivalry. It's been pretty lopsided as of late.
Yeah. Yeah. Auburn was one that number. Auburn plus 24, Nick, was one I had written down. It's not gonna be in the column. I kind of the trends, the historical trends here, not super promising, and that's mainly why I kind of just threw it out this week. But
Here's the
Auburn's
last 7
go ahead.
games, Jordan Hare Stadium. Auburn scored 4 touchdowns. They're 0-7 and have been outscored 216-54. That's crazy.
Yeah, and
It's
this
crazy.
year's they're going to Athens this year. But
Yeah,
yeah,
away from Jordan Hare. Sorry.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just, Auburn, like Nick, if you look at them, like if you pull up their you go to cfbstats.com, you go to Game on Paper, you pull up any stat website, and you just pull up the numbers what they're doing on offense, it looks like a legitimate like top 15 offense. But these turnovers are absolutely killing them. So to me, it's like that's a lot of to me that's a lot of points, and I think their offense can go a little bit. Now, it was Georgia's touchdown drought or streak, not allowing opponents to score, got busted in a big way last week, so you still have to consider that in there. But how much do it feels like Georgia probably needs to get to 40 to cover this. It's just or 35 bare minimum. That's a lot of that's just that could be a lot of points in an SEC game sometimes. And so I mean
Well,
it's I
it's
think
not a lot if you've got
Auburn's just interesting because they're not as bad as you are what your record is at Parcells, but if you watch the games, they were the better team and all it was like coaching just let them down and bad decisions at the quarterback position. But other than that, they're winning these games. Their record should be better, but they just lose their mind in the fourth quarter. But what happens in a game where they're not expected to win? Maybe they'll just play better and not make the big mistakes.
it's hard to not cover a 24.5 point spread unless you're just throwing touchdowns to the other team. And that's what Auburn's been really good at. It's not only a catastrophic turnover, it's a catastrophic pick six. They're just giving away non-offensive touchdowns to the other team. It's very similar to what we've seen with Will Levis, where it's like, Will, can you just throw a normal interception? Can you have a normal turnover? He can't. Right now, it's just when he has a blunder, it looks like the guy who's carrying the water hose and everything out to the car wash, right? And it just fumbles everything all over the place. That's what Auburn's doing. So I hope they don't get it together. I hope they just completely get derailed because they're coming to Kroger Field here in a couple of weeks. So I hope it stays that way and they keep shooting themselves in the foot, at least for that game at Kroger Field in Lexington. Let's get to some games that we are going to pick this weekend. And I typically go first. I'm not going to step on your toes. Why don't you go first this time and let it rip with one of your picks?
Yeah, the game I kind of teased. USC at Minnesota. I'll take the Gophers +8 here. Nick, these two teams played at Michigan back-to-back weeks. They both had the same result. Like, literally, it was a 3-point game both ways.
Mm-hmm. Man, Minnesota got hosed by that onside kick, too. That was...
Minnesota, again, if you look up the box score, you can make the argument they won the box score against Michigan. USC, Nick, is 2-7 against the spread under Lincoln Riley as a road favorite. They don't typically play well in this spot, laying points. They kind of messed around last week with Wisconsin. They got a huge game at home with Penn State next week. Now they got to make another odd road trip in this Big Ten to Minnesota. Minnesota's sitting there at 2-3. It's kind of a big game for them. If you lose this one, you're really in a hole. So I think you're going to get one of Minnesota's better efforts here. So I like the Gophers here at home. I'm going to take give me the 8 points and give me the home dog.
Row the boat, Sky-U-Ma. They've surprised me this year. I thought this might be a floundering spiral, but that was a good effort. It was a good effort last week at Michigan, despite the loss. I'm kind of going in a spot pick here, and I still haven't gotten a good feel for this Louisville team, but I will agree with their fans in that they really just kind of that. They made about as many boneheaded mistakes as they possibly could have against Notre Dame last weekend. Feels like that was an attention-grabbing loss. They come home. They play an SMU team that they're riding pretty high after 2 big home wins. That was pretty it was an emotional rivalry win over TCU in the Iron Skillet game. And then Florida State is trying to sue to get out of the league because they don't want SMU in it. They just beat the crap out of them. I think SMU's riding really high. But what happens when they play a pretty good defense and they get punched in the mouth a little bit? The only time we've seen them in a close game scenario was really that BYU game, and that was a just disastrous meltdown. So I still haven't got a great feel on what this Louisville team is, but I do think that they will. I think Brian will have him paying finer attention to details, and they'll be able to get right and come away with the late cover here. Louisville minus 6.5.
Yeah, I think SMU's playing the right quarterback now, and that was an issue the first couple weeks. Again, they should have won that BYU game. They had just some red zone disasters that kind of allowed BYU to win that game. And now you look up, and BYU looks like a good team. So that wasn't, I would say, as bad as a loss. I think you're right on the side here, Nick. So if you're going to play this, I think Louisville is probably the right side. Louisville has been really good at home, really since 2019. They've been kind of a cover machine, 19-7 against the spread as a home favorite. Rhett Lashley has not been good as a road dog. They're 1-5 against the spread as a road dog now. Their last one was the biggest one. They covered as a road dog in the AAC championship last year against Tulane. But they typically have not good here. The one thing I don't know if people really, especially local people, really realize about this matchup is SMU's got a legitimate defense. They've got some good players on the front. So what problems can they potentially cause?
Mm-hmm.
But you have to think Louisville's going to score some points. I'm not sure SMU can really keep up. I expect it to be a fourth quarter game, but I think Louisville is probably the right side there. The real interesting angle for this one is if Louisville loses it, where are they at as a team? Is there an unraveling there? But I don't think that happens. I think they probably win this one and probably cover the number.
They'll probably hit you just expect a couple of those like 50, 60-yard touchdowns. That it feels like that happens in that stadium in close games quite a bit under Jeff Brom. I don't know how packed the stadium's going to be, though. Like it's St. James Art Fairs this weekend, and it's tough. It's tough. Luckett, who you got for your second pick?
Yeah, going to start staying in the Big Ten, but this time going out west. We talked about Michigan, Nick, just a minute ago. You were on the right side with Rutgers last week, but Washington. But Washington did everything but win that football game.
Yeah, they won that box score. There's no doubt about that.
And then you go to the other game they lost, Washington State. There was a goal line stand. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
They should have won that game. Michigan, Nick, they've thrown for less than 90 yards in each of these last two wins. That's not you just can't keep doing that.
You can't keep getting away with this.
But their defense is good, but it's not like this Iowa level top 5-ish defense, I don't think. So I look at this game, Washington. The only thing that really worries me is Washington's run defense is kind of iffy, but I think their offense is going to be good enough to put some pressure on Michigan, maybe force them to throw the ball more. It's a ranked team playing an unranked team, and the unranked team's favorite. Unranked team here is favorite for a reason. Washington's the better team. I'm going to lay the short price with this national championship game rematch, which I forgot it was even the national championship game rematch until I read a preview of this game. I was like, oh, that's right. These two teams did play in the national championship game last year, but there's so much new on each side you don't even realize it. But give me UW here. I'm going to lay the short price minus 2.5 there, which should be a pretty rowdy crowd there up at Seattle.
I would like for Ryan McGee or Bill Connolly. This feels like a Bill Connolly sort of experiment. The lack of returning production in a national championship rematch. Has there ever been more turnover from team to team? New head coaches on both sides. I mean, that rarely. I mean, having a national championship rematch period rarely happens. But new coaches, new quarterbacks,
new coordinators,
everything.
New coordinators. Man. I don't think any offensive line starter from that game is back. I think Michigan lost their 5. I think Washington lost their 5.
Oh, yeah, absolutely insane. Insane that's a rematch. I'm going to make kind of I don't think it is an insane play here because they were just auto plays early on, but 93% or 92% of money, is on Tennessee minus 13.5 at Arkansas. And that's just, I can't be square here because on the other side of it, Sam Pittman has been really good as a home dog, 7-4 ATS. They've kept it close against Tennessee over the years. And as good as Tennessee was against really bad teams, they like there's a fun trash talking narrative that like Tennessee could have scored 100 points against Oklahoma and gotten away with it. I don't think that's actually the case. I think that Josh Heupel didn't want to make his quarterback. He was like, "We've got the lead, Nico. Don't go make mistakes because you can't against this team. We know you're capable of it. You're young. This is your first time on the road. I know they've got a bye week, but he's going back out on the road. I think this Arkansas fan base knows they have a pretty decent team, and just that A&M game is just the worst for them. They can't do anything with it. I think they're gonna be ticked off, motivated, and put together a good offensive game plan to be able to stay in this game, run the ball, keep it out of Nico's hands. So that's why I'm going to side with Arkansas plus 13.5.
Yeah, I think there's some interesting trends in this game. Arkansas 7-4 against the spread as a home dog under Sam Pittman. Arkansas 7-1 against the spread in the last 8 meetings as a dog versus a ranked favorite. Arkansas 9-10 against the spread against Tennessee since 1997. I think there's a lot of trends here, and this is also a sandwich game for Tennessee. Josh Heupel homecoming, Florida, little old Arkansas in the middle.
Yep.
So I like how the game sets up for the Hogs again. Now they were tough loss last week, a tough stretch here for them, right? Auburn, A&M, Tennessee. That's a tough 3-game stretch in this conference. But they're kind of their backs against the wall. Pittman, their teams play well as a dog. I think I wouldn't be surprised fourth quarter if this is a game. This is also a game, Nick, where there's going to be some declarative statements made one way or the other about the volleyball player. Because if he comes out and is 17 of 28 for 130 yards again, people are going to be like, hey, now, what's going on? But if he's 22 of 28 for 270, the Heisman train's going to start again, right? So it's a big game, I think, for him and the offense of Tennessee in general because they sputtered.
Yeah.
In that Oklahoma game. Now, you can make the reasons for why they sputtered, and I think they're all legitimate. But if you do that 2 SEC games in a row, like people are going to be the antennas are going to go up, I think, for a lot of people. So that's the big thing to me to watch is how Nico in that Tennessee offense, how they kind of operate against a defense not as good as Oklahoma's, but still a solid SEC defense on the road in a tough environment.
Yeah, that one is 7:30 night game. First night game down there in a while at Arkansas. The pass defense hasn't been great, but Arkansas's rush defense is 22nd in success rate. And you can slow down that rushing attack, make Nico beat you. It could be a close one. It could be a close one. I'll take the Hogs. Like it. Who do you got for your last selection?
Yeah, we're going to the very, very last game of Saturday night.
Ooh,
11 o'clock Eastern kick, which Arizona's like they got the weird thing where they're Mountain and Pacific, right?
Yeah, they
Depends
switch.
on time of the year.
So I think they're only 2 hours behind right now. 3 hours behind once we fall back.
So this game starts at 9 local. This game starts at 9, which is a crazy start time. In Texas Tech, it starts for 10 local for Texas Tech. But 11 p.m. Eastern kickoff, Texas Tech at Arizona. Last time I think most people saw Arizona, they got that game got away from them against Kansas State and Manhattan. But that's what Kansas State does to everyone in that stadium. Look what they just did to Oklahoma State this last weekend. They are a wagon at home against these Big 12 teams. But I like Arizona here laying 6.5 points, so laying just short of a touchdown. Texas Tech, Nick, is a little bit flawed. We were on them a couple weeks ago. They probably should have lost to Arizona State. You can make the argument they should have lost to Cincinnati last week. They're giving up boatloads of yards, boatloads of points. I think you're going to see this Arizona offense really be able to have a good day. And then I think this Texas Tech team is a little flawed. They're going on the road. After winning 2 games they probably shouldn't have won. So give me Arizona in a big spot. Arizona, I think, showed some stuff last week against Utah, winning in Salt Lake City. It's a nice win for them. I'm going to lay the home number here, or lay the points with the home team here, -6.5. Give me Arizona in this Big 12 matchup where I think it's a game where I think Texas Tech It's probably getting a little overvalued here.
One team that you can't value enough, it's the Golden Bears of Cal. The Calgorithm, it's invading the internet. It's going to invade College Game Day. And if you aren't aware of Justin Wilcox as a dog, it's when he's at his best, man. Just over the years of listening to gambling podcasts, they love Wilcox as a home dog. And I believe the number, 7-3 ATS is a home dog since 2019. 12-5 just in Wilcox's tenure. He's just a home dog, man. You take him as the home dog, and then you take Miami in a spot where they should have lost the week before, and now they got to go on the road and beat the crap out of a team that's highly motivated. Like I don't know. There's still just the Miami.
I just wish game day wasn't there. That's my big thing with this game. I wish it was a little bit sleepier for Miami going in there. I don't love that game day's going there. That's the only part of this I don't like.
Well, and I don't like too that it opened at 14 and everybody jumped on it and went down to 10.5. Because you're right, that's an auto play right off the jump. Which, if I might do a bonus play, we might have an auto play military under because it's military under. You just play it. Just play the military unders. Air Force Navy, correct?
That is correct.
And here's one more thing too. Dogs are on fire in these military games. That's my other stat. 18 of the last 23 between service academies, the dogs have covered. That's a big number, so that's another one I'll probably be considering as well.
The under in this Navy Air Force series is 9-1 in the last 12.
Yeah.
So
the unders are so hot.
You only lost 10 of those 12 bets if you played it every year. Or you only lost 2 of those 12 bets, if you played that every year. But back to the Cal game, Nick, I think fading Miami here is a good play, and I think Cal at home, they should have won that Florida State game. They were the better team, lost. They've had a bye week. They got a bye week. It's a huge game. I think even back to the preseason, they were a team I thought was better than people thought, and I think they have a chance to really give Miami some problems here. But again, it feels like the build up for it was that's what I worry. Maybe you get Miami's full attention and want to get one of their better games here. It would be my concern. And then let's just some other trends I thought were notable. There's no way I can go to the window and lay points with NC State, but the home team in this Wake Forest NC State series is 14-3 ATS in the last 17. Nick, Wisconsin, again, I just can't lay at 2 touchdowns with Wisconsin, even if they were playing Iroquois High School. But they have won 17 consecutive games against Purdue. They are 14-3 against the spread. But the over is covered in 5 straight in this series. But that's something to monitor after an OC hiring there at Purdue.
Yeah, you rarely get the midseason OC firing. You had one at Purdue. Things are going well in the Ryan Walters era.
Yeah, the Hugh Freeze, he was 27-12 as a dog before he took this Auburn job. He's 3-4 now. So there's an interesting one here. Under Narduzzi, Pitt is 14-4 as a road favorite ATS in the last 18 outings, but they have never won in Chapel Hill.
Huh.
So that's an interesting one. Kind of conflicting, and those are really the kind of the big ones there. I did think it was notable that the over is 5-1 in the last 6 meetings between Iowa and Ohio State. So I know that'll probably be a popular under bet for people. But I wouldn't be surprised if that over cashes.
I'm kind of might be there with that over because it's only 45, but and I know that's a lot for Iowa, but they've cashed plenty of over tickets so far this year.
I wouldn't say their offense is good, but they're explosive, and their tailback, Caleb Johnson, I believe his name is. He's having a like All-American type season. He's on pace, I think, to rush for 2,000 yards. So there's probably going to be games where they can score up in the 30s just because of that, because they can rip off explosive runs. So that could be something to monitor.
So quick recap of our picks this week. Luckett is taking Minnesota +8, Washington -2.5, and Arizona Wildcats -6.5. I'm on Louisville -6.5. Cal plus 10 in the hook, and Arkansas plus 13.5. A military under 4-year consideration in Navy Air Force. Like it. I hope you have fun watching the games this weekend, cashing some tickets. Be a good time. Be a real good time.
I do. This is not the best slate. Now, I mean, next week's insane, but this slate, I love how kind of backloaded it is. We've got some good late night. We got Cal, Miami, and Arizona, Texas Tech are two really good late night games. You got some good games at 7:30 when you talk about Arkansas, Tennessee, Washington, Michigan. I like the feature game at 3:30 with Ole Miss, South Carolina, and then you have Iowa, Ohio State can maybe be interesting, and then even the noon. I like Missouri A&M at noon is a perfect noon game. Like it's a big game at noon to start the day off, and then SMU Louisville is a nice kind of second screen game while that's rolling on. So I kind of like the balance of the card this week. So sitting at home, there's not I wouldn't say the big ticket games, but I think we've got a lot of good, solid B games on the slate this week, and I'm going to enjoy it.
Love a good B game. Love a nice good bye week. And it's been a pleasure hanging out with you today and sharing some picks for Adam. Like it, I'm Nick Roush. Go Cats and go Crow Green. Enjoy the bye week, everybody.